Good morning and welcome to Weekends with Whitney. The unofficial start of summer is just days away. So this morning, we're going to give your fun factor a boost. For you land lovers, there are adventures in Louisiana you can't find anywhere else, like those at Global Wildlife. Nowhere else can you get up close and personal with the animal kingdom like this.
Look at that. Wow.
Surprisingly, Global Wildlife emerged as a surprise to its owner and its guests. How 26 years later, it's not only survived, but thrived. Then from turf to surf. For you water lovers, we hit the waves. How this new $1 million surf machine at Breck's Liberty Lagoon can bring even the most clumsy of us onto the surface. Plus Dr. Nick with great advice for grads, and all of us really, why making your bed matters at every age. Weekends with Whitney is about to get wild. Let's go.
And we're off.
This is an animal encounter like no other. Visitors at Global Wildlife get to roam inside the home of more than 4,000 animals. For guide Casey Cousins, it's a dream job.
I don't want to leave ever, and you can definitely see why. I've fallen in love with all these animals. I mean, I see them every day from morning till about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I've learned their personalities. So it's almost like they've become my very own pets. I mean, it's like they also belong to us. They're their family.
It's almost a magical type of animal attraction here. Visitors have them eating out of the palm of their hands. There aren't a lot of places this happens. All this happened, surprisingly, 30 years ago when Ken Mathern bought these 900 acres in Folsom, along with one giraffe for his daughter. PR manager Brittany Ricks says it was folks driving down Highway 40 that turned it into something more.
There was a giraffe, and so they would pull over and they would try to just feed the giraffe whatever they could. And so he said, you know, this would be a cool idea if we just started letting people come in. So he got some horses and he started charging the public to come in and take a tour around the facility on horseback.
Now they need horsepower. Safari wagons take up to 1,600 people through here a day.
I don't think anyone expected it to turn into what it did. But it's awesome, and a lot of people get to come out and enjoy it.
Today, they have their biggest giraffe herd ever, 12, and more on the way because 2 are pregnant. That's extraordinary news because these giraffes are endangered, but yet it could quickly get much worse.
You see your giraffes in the zoos and you think there's plenty of them, but there's not a lot. They think that they can become extinct in the next few years if nothing's done to, provide extra protection for them in the wild.
Global Wildlife is rooted in conservation and education. You learn wild things about the wild kingdom. These birds following us aren't ostriches or emus. They're rheas. For us, their mating would be for the birds.
And they also are pretty hilarious with their mating rituals. One male will mate with several different females, and at the same time, these several females will lay their eggs. And that one male will have to make a giant nest for all those eggs. Each female will have like 5 eggs apiece, so he's looking at have 25 kids. He's gonna have that many to take care of. And after they lay the eggs, all the females, they leave him. We like to say they go off on on vacation. So it's up to that one male to incubate 25 eggs. Once they hatch, it's up to him to also babysit them, look after them, and raise them. Now, a month later, the females, they'll return to come check on their babies. And if there's some missing, or maybe there's some injured, he just didn't do a good job, all those females will actually line up behind that one male, and they'll pluck out every single one of his tail feathers until he is completely bald.
These male antelope do some pretty outrageous things too.
The males actually rub their head in poop.
Oh, no.
Yes. So when the males fight, whichever one is declared the winner of the fight is supposed to follow the loser around all day until he uses the bathroom. And that winner of the fight is going to go stick his head in that pile of poop, and he's going to. The winner does. I know it sounds like it should be the other way around, but it's not. He wears it around like a trophy on top of his head to show the females that he's more dominant. So that's why you can see this mohawk going on top of their head. The more poop, the better.
There are other animals here we humans can identify more with, like Clyde the camel, who's a complete camera hog, and these best friends.
This is Rocky.
This is Rocky the llama?
Rocky the llama. And right over there, that's Rocky's best friend. They're pretty much always together. They don't go too far apart from each other.
They have binge eaters too, and religious leaders.
Now, if you look at them kind of close, you'll see a cross on their back. They're also known as the donkey who carried Mary to Bethlehem to help with the birth of baby Jesus. So legend has it they were blessed with that cross to show like how special they were for what they did.
Here's a real ladies' man.
His name's Cole.
Hi, Cole.
He's the alpha male. So he's the stud here. All the ladies love him.
And that one who'll pester you for attention. Oh, hey! Yeah, they're a little slobbery. You sure showed some good persistence. Wow, you played that. You're awfully flimsy, like a pig. Here you realize we have an uncanny amount in common with the animal kingdom. You see it, feel it, and live it.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Global Wildlife is open 7 days a week, and the only time they're closed is on major holidays. To check out more, you can head to their website, globalwildlife.com. And still to come, Surf's Up, right here in Baton Rouge. How this $1 million machine is about to add big summertime fun to Red Stick. Then Dr. Nick helps us surf through the waves of life. Why it starts with, of all things, making your bed. An interesting insight as Weekends with Whitney continues. Breck Summer Camp, your child's next adventure.
Where I made my first big splash!
Where I made the last shack.
Where I saw animals from all around the world. Where I traveled back in time. Where I caught my first glimpse of the stars.
Where I hit my first home run.
Where I learned to ride. Where I learned how to paddle.
So register for Breck Summer Camps starting March 25th and help your child build memories that will last a lifetime. Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney. As summer heats up, we're all looking for ways to beat the summer heat and try to enjoy it. Well, this year, there are more ways than ever. can only do this one place in Louisiana, Breck's Liberty Lagoon in Baton Rouge. The Shockwave is part of a new $3 million addition. What some can already do on it is pretty impressive. These folks are taking part in an after-hours surf class. For $10, you get 2 hours of instruction and lots of surf time. But what if you're like me and you just want to jump right in and go? Assistant Director Brett Weinberger says, no problem. Okay, so how difficult is this thing?
Oh, it's fun. It's real easy to do.
Is it?
Oh yeah, and then
It
our
doesn't
staff.
look easy.
Oh, it is. It is. We give staff instruction to everybody when they come up and teach them what to do and how to do it, and then we'll do a quick orientation with you, so that way you can get on and do some surfing yourself.
Let's go.
All right.
For someone who's never surfed in the ocean or in a simulator, I'm awfully confident. Initially, anyway. I start with the easiest way to ride it, horizontal, on my stomach. It's a little tricky learning how to maneuver it right to left, but it's big fun. Now I'm ready to take it up a notch and ride on my knees. Here, it gets hilarious. But only my confidence is bruised. The foam really cushions all the tumbles. As Kim's belly laughing behind the camera, I dare her to do it. It's obvious we could use one of those after-hour classes. But something we don't need a class for are their 2 new thrill slides. The green one drops you at 40 miles an hour. The blue one sends you for some loops. Here, there's something for everyone, even kayaking.
Here at Liberty Lagoon, we have a kayaking class called Paddle Up 1. And what that is we teach beginners, people that have never kayaked before, and let them experience that portion of the kayak, and then the controlled environment. So we teach them how to get in and out of the water, paddle forward, backwards, turn, and maneuver a kayak. So that way they can go into our next programs that we offer, that Breck offers for the Paddle Up 2, Paddle Up 3, Paddle Up 4, where you go to the Breck Lakes, LSU Lakes, and you go other rivers around town for outdoor adventure.
Awesome. Well, let's try it out.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Oh, boy.
Right paddle, there you go.
There we go, like bumper cars.
Yep.
I'll get it, though. Getting in this summer will be faster, too. The new addition added a second entrance and increases capacity from 600 people to 900. There's also another concession stand, more bathrooms, lockers, seating, and shade. They're open today and starting Thursday every day through the summer. From infants to adults, there's water fun for everyone.
And we do swim lessons for all ages. And our water babies, our mommy and me class, the baby bubblers classes for little infants, and then also with adult swim lessons as well. We also have aerobics classes, water fitness classes. We also have stand-up paddleboard yoga classes that take place in the water.
There's just about anything you want to do here.
Yeah, you can have birthday parties here. You can have family company picnics here. You just come out here and have a great time with your family and enjoy the water and cool off.
For a full list of everything Breck's Liberty Lagoon has to offer, you can check out their website, breck.org, and they also have other summertime programs for any age. You might want to check that out too. And still ahead, sometimes you need to be a sugar cookie. Dr. Nick explains as Weekends with Whitney continues.
Maggio, the only way to go. Maggio Buick GMC. Your satisfaction's our specialty. We really deliver on Falls River here in New Roads. Small town atmosphere, legendary service for over 60 years. Maggio, the only way to go. The only way to go, that's Maggio.
9-time winner of the prestigious Buick GMC Mark of Excellence Award.
Classic Hits 103.3, Scott Innes, welcome to the ride home. Put the seatbelts on, hug the babies when you get there.
Hey Scott, coffee, water, trash need emptying?
Hey Chris, we're good, man. Thanks for checking in now. Appreciate checking
Sure,
in.
sure.
Yeah. Hey, and by the way, I'm playing Beth just for you today.
You too much, and I love you.
Oh, I know
give
you.
you a
Yeah.
kiss.
No, that's okay. Yeah, seriously. We're good. Seriously.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Scott Innes is back on 103.3 Classic Hits. It is graduation season, and whether it is high school or it is college, it is time for everyone to seize the opportunities ahead of them. And there's a great book Dr. Nick and I are going to talk about regarding that. Great to see you.
Good morning.
So there's some tips by the Admiral,
Yes,
and it's called Make Your Bed.
yes. Admiral William McCraven. I saw the video of him giving a speech at graduation.
Yes.
Huge graduation.
Yeah, Texas.
And from that speech came this book. But he starts off with Make Your Bed.
Now
And
tell
then
us
from
why.
there- well, he's suggesting that, and I thought it was so fascinating because we're talking about the military.
Oh, yeah.
And
He was a SEAL.
And he was training for Navy SEAL, and every morning the commander would come in to check the bed, corners tucked, the pillow at the right place, almost OCD-ish. And he says that the reason why it was so important is because you want to start your day with completing something. And then
Because-
and you feel good because
Because it sounds mundane. Like, does it really
very
matter
mundane.
if my bed is perfect?
It's very mundane, but again, when you take it in and you interpret it, the first thing you've done in the morning was do something, so you've completed. But I love the fact that he says that at the end of the day, if it's been a horrible day, you could at least come in and say, "Well, that was done."
Well,
And Whitney, the reason why it struck me because I think like most of us out here, we've all not made our bed.
right.
And when the times that I haven't, and I come in and I see it unmade, there is a little bit of a funk.
Is there?
Yeah, in me there is. It's like, gosh, I couldn't even make the bed. And so I think that there's something to it. But what really struck me about it was that, and this is why I think it was so important at this particular time of year, it was really about empowerment. It was really about something you can do and need to do. It wasn't about entitlement. It wasn't about I'm going to do this for you. I'm gonna. It was all about you have to make the bed. You have to be daring. You have to be a sugar cookie. You tell him. You read some of it. You know what the sugar cookie means.
I did. Well, in Navy SEAL training, they would. Oh, bless their hearts.
Bless their hearts.
Yeah. And sometimes they were up for 6 days, Hell Week, and then they had to roll all around in the sand.
Yes.
Hence the comparison to the sugar cookie.
But they had to get in the water. They had to get wet.
Yes.
And then roll, and then roll, and then work all day with the sand on them.
So
So
his thing was get over being a sugar cookie. Just sometimes you're going to have to be a
Sometimes
sugar
you're going to
cookie.
have to be a sugar cookie. And it was interesting the way he framed it, because he said when he would ask the commander, why do that? And the answer was that life isn't fair. And you have to learn early in life that life isn't fair. And I mean, you've heard me say it over and over again. It just isn't.
Right.
You know, bad things happen to great people, and life can throw up thunderstorm at us on our graduation day outside.
Right.
And it just does. But it was also interesting that one of the reasons why you had to do it if you made even the tiniest of infractions. So it also, I think, says something about that there are consequences to our behavior.
And then he says, don't ring the bell. Tell me.
In the world that he was trained in, they would have bells, and apparently if you rang the bell, you were saying, I can't do it, or
I give up.
I give up.
I want out of here.
I want out of here. And he says that you never want to ring the bell. You want to have that grit, which is a kind of a great word of, I can do this. I can get this job done. I can finish this task. I can jump this hurdle. I can endure. Yeah, with persistence and with grit. I just think that's a great word, grit. And what's also interesting, though, is that the bell is there. As if somehow it almost needs to be there to remind us that we do have the freedom to quit.
Yes.
But we want to almost challenge ourselves. You know,
so you're not powerless.
You're not powerless. And one of the things that I like so much about the way he phrases it is that it's really internal competition. You're competing with yourself. You see the bell, which means it's a possibility, but you say, no, I can do this. Don't you know what? The greatest competitor is ourselves. This is basically what he's saying. You're competing with yourself.
Yes.
You're always pushing yourself harder. Again, who always feels like making the bed every morning, or who wants to be a sugar cookie, you know, or who wants to constantly feel like that as he says, failure is important.
There was an interesting part in here, and we talk about dynamics and people, where he says that they were up all night and they were waiting for someone to quit, but they were so miserable and they were so cold. That was it. They were wet. It was really frigid out there. And they started singing. But he told them not to, but they did anyway, which really shocked me.
Yes.
Because they were also obedient.
Yes.
As seals.
And I think the phrase he uses is "sing while you're in the mud." I believe I think that's, if I remember correctly, it's that you take that opportunity to kind of sing your way out of it.
And they felt better.
And they felt better.
And as a group.
You're talking to a musician, so I mean, that was one of the things that really impacted me, was the power of music and singing in the midst of the pain, which, you know, if we're reminded of in the slave days. That's basically how so many slaves survived.
Oh, right.
You know, with humility, I say that because that's just what I read.
Of course.
But there was a lot of that, and that's where the great spirituals came. You know, from
the
that
power of song.
And he talks about hope in the book. He talks about never lose hope. That there's always something you're wanting to strive for. It's really a very empowering book. And one of the reasons why I think it's important for us to say this today is because our culture sometimes moves us into more and more of let me do it for you. Yes. Parents, let me do it for you. And that's not what this book is saying at all. Nobody's going to make your bed. You're going to learn how to make your bed.
And
it's great stuff, Whitney.
As this generation moves forward, it's real easy to try to pick up the pieces of your children every time, be it high school or college graduation, and say, I'll fix it, or I'll send you $500, or I'll continue to pay your cell phone bill till you're 40, or your car insurance till you're 50. I mean, we do see parents do that.
That's right.
But his advice is,
that's not the way to do it.
Let them sail their own ship.
They've got to sail their own ship. They've got to make mistakes. They've got to fall off the bike. They've got to I don't want anybody to ever flunk an exam. But you know, I remember, I don't know if I've ever said this, if I may real quick. I'll never forget, I was a sophomore in college and I was taking American history. And he was a brilliant lecturer. And I flunked the first exam.
Oh.
I flunked the first exam. And he called me into his office, and his office was sitting outside. There was a bench because he came from Hammond. And we sat, I'll never forget it. We sat on the bench and he said, he said, this is not you. I know this is not you. I know you can do this. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened. He said, but I know you can do this. He said, so we're going to throw away this exam, and we're going to start all over from today. Do you know I made an A in that course? I promise I'm not saying it to brag.
Right.
I'm saying it because that it's, and he kept saying, this is you. But Whitney, I'm thinking, what would I have become had he not encouraged me, empowered me, said, look, we're throwing this away. You could do this.
That is rare.
Because I'm not sure why I made the F, but I flunked.
Yes, isn't that interesting? All these years later, you don't remember why you did so poorly on the test. You just remember that you got a second chance.
I remember him looking at me and saying, basically, I believe in you. This is not you. That's what I think he's saying in this book, is whatever we may think of ourselves, come on, we can do it.
Yes, well, I love Admiral McCraven, too, for what he says about and he told this to the graduating class of like 8,000. He said, if every one of you just touched 10 lives.
10 lives.
And those 10 lives touched 10 lives. And those 10 lives touched 10 lives. We could change the entire world.
Yes.
And that's only 10 people.
Yes.
We can all do that.
Absolutely. And in addition to that important point about we can change, he also talks about it, don't be afraid to ask people to help you paddle, because it takes a lot of people to paddle. And they were back to, does it take a village or doesn't it? And it does. We're all kind of connected in some way, and we have to help each other. I had a situation recently where someone said, I just won't reach out for help. I said, well, you're going to need to, because you can't walk very well. Oh. You're going to need people to help you get into the car. Oh. And she said, I'm just very independent. And I said, well, you can be independent all you want, but you're also 74 years old, and you're going to have to get some help. Ah. So you see how it's part of the I can is I can ask.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much, Dr. Nick. More of Weekends with Whitney after this. Atlas Foundation Repair, fixing your foundation problems for more than 30 years while preserving and protecting your trees. Thanks for sharing part of your time with us here on Weekends with Whitney. We hope to see you back here again next week. Until then, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Until then, we leave you with this.